But we begin tonight in North Carolina, where CNN is reporting shocking new details about the current Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, who is the Republican nominee for governor. CNN unearthed deeply disturbing and graphic posts that Robinson made on a pornographic website called Nude Africa. Yes, that's the real name, more than a decade ago. In those posts, Robinson, using the moniker Mini Soldier, not spelled properly, referred to himself as a black Nazi. He also expressed a desire to reinstate slavery, saying, and I quote, "Slavery is not bad. Some people need to be slaves. I wish they would bring it back. I would certainly buy a few." Slaves, he means. When rebuked by some fellow porn fans for disparaging MLK in terms so vile he was likened to a Klansman, he replied, quote, "I'm not in the KKK. They don't let blacks join. If I was in the KKK, I would have called him Martin Lucifer Coon." He also expressed views that undermine his socially conservative values with regard to transgender folks. He called himself a perv who enjoyed watching transgender intercourse. He also recounted a time where he was peeping on teenage girls while they were showering back when he was in high school. He also had wildly offensive language about gays, Muslims, and Jewish people, but they are so vile and offensive that I can't even repeat them on air, and I'm on cable. CNN spoke with Robinson earlier today and asked him directly about the allegations.
Do you deny that this account is you?
Well, first off, let me say thank you so much for allowing me to come here and clear the air. We absolutely do. This is not us. These are not our words, and this is not anything that is characteristic of me, nor has it ever been. The people here of North Carolina know I have been completely transparent about my history, all the warts. We put them all out.
There have been rumors that some of your campaign staff have quit. Can you tell us if that's true or not?
Absolutely not, and we are not getting out of this race. There are people who are counting on us to win this race.
Yeah, so this is the part where I remind you that a deeply reported North Carolina magazine called The Assembly spoke with 6 men who said Robinson frequented a Greensboro video porn shop in the 90s and early 2000s, which is right around the time as these new allegations happened. Robinson denied those allegations as well. CNN, however, uncovered the posts by cross-referencing his pseudonym, Mini Soldier, with Robinson's personal information. Additionally, Robinson listed his full name on his profile for Nude Africa, as well as an email address that he used on numerous websites across the internet for decades. These posts came, we should note, before he was a public figure. Robinson claims that the North Carolina people know who he is. But for the rest of you, I just want to remind you how that state selected and nominated a Holocaust-denying, LGBTQ-hating, gun-loving, anti-abortion, extremist, Christian nationalist zealot who also happens to be a black man who hates the civil rights movement as their nominee for governor.
For me, there is no compromise on abortion. It makes no difference to me why or how that child ended up in that womb. There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth. We are called, here getting ready to get in trouble, called to be led by men. The Christian patriots of this nation will own this nation and rule this nation. I got them AR-15s in case the government gets too big for its britches. Because I'm going to fill the backside of them britches with some lead.
And that's just the stuff he said in front of cameras. Then there's the stuff he said on Facebook, like the civil rights movement led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was, quote, that crap in the 1960s that was the communist rise movement. In 2018, he wrote, quote, this foolishness about Hitler disarming millions of Jews and then marching them off to the concentration camps is a bunch of hogwash. In 2017, he claimed there is a reason the liberal media fills the airwaves with programs about the Nazi and the 6 million Jews they murdered. While Donald Trump publicly gushes over this guy, calling him a good guy and Martin Luther King on steroids, that's a quote, His campaign is clearly worried about what this good guy could do to Trump's chances in the Tar Heel state. The Carolina Journal, another newspaper in the state, says it spoke with sources that told them that Robinson is under pressure from staff and members of the Trump campaign to withdraw from the governor's race due to the nature of the story. Again, Robinson says that he isn't going anywhere. And the window for that to happen, if it is going to happen, is closing real soon. In fact, it has to happen in the next few hours, since absentee ballots are set to go out tomorrow. But with the current Republican majority North Carolina Supreme Court, which already delayed the delivery of ballots to remove the guy with the worm in his brain, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the bear-eating dude, not to mention the right-wing appeals court and John Roberts and Leonard Leo's other friends on the United States Supreme Court, I think we all know that anything is possible. Joining me now is Mary Ramsey, reporter for the Charlotte Observer, Eugene Craig, chair of Black Republicans for Harris, and Juanita Tolliver, Democratic strategist and MSNBC political analyst, and also the author of a new and really amazing new book, A More Perfect Party, The Night Shirley Chisholm and Diane Carroll Reshaped Politics. I am dying to just divert into talking about that, but unfortunately, sadly, we got to talk about this guy. Mary, I do want to go to you first to give us sort of your latest reporting. What is the reaction of Republicans in North Carolina to these revelations, and what are the chances that he's leaving this race? You are on mute.
Conservative outlets in the state, including the Carolina Journal, have reported that there is internal pressure within the North Carolina Republican structure for Lieutenant Governor Robinson to leave the race. However, he has said on CNN and on social media that he will stay in the race. And as you mentioned, he has a very limited window for when he can make this decision.
And in his camp, how are they explaining the convergence between this mini soldier name that he seemed to use everywhere, including on Facebook and, on the sort of legitimate normal stuff that he used, and also on these posts? How are they explaining the convergences here?
Yes. So Robinson's camp has largely been silent today, not responding to media requests. In his response, as you showed a part of on CNN, he said that he believes this could be related to artificial intelligence, saying that there are lots of things that can be faked on the internet today, and repeatedly saying that these comments were not made by him.
Okay, let's come to the table here. Eugene, I'm going to start with you because,
We are.
I'm just going to tell you from my experience, there are two kinds of Black Republicans.
Yeah.
There are Black Republicans like you. I know Michael Steele. And then there's the other type.
Oh, yeah.
That are like this. And I've encountered some people like this. You obviously know Byron Donalds, who said life was better during Jim Crow.
Yep.
And people who are willing to say the most bananas crazy things.
The wildest thing for clout. Right?
And it's also not just for clout, but for clout specifically among white conservatives.
Yes, absolutely. But I'll say this, right? Mark Robinson came to power, came to fame, literally by saying the wildest things ever.
Yeah.
He blew up based off the city council speech and whatnot, and conservatives took that and blew it up and turned him into a folklore hero. But I think it is very rich that we have an adjudicated rapist that also peeped into girls changing and whatnot, who hangs out with pro-Nazis who also deny the Holocaust, who hangs out with anti-civil rights folk who are not just denying the civil rights and denying the legacy of both King and Malcolm X, but also currently doing whatever they can to dismantle the civil rights legacy today presently with Project 2025, trying to pressure Mark Robinson to get out the race for being all those things.
Right.
So listen, Mark, I'm going to say this. As a fellow Black Republican, I don't rock with you. I don't stand with you. I hope the Republican Jewish coalition backs your Democrat opponent. But I will say this. Please do us all a favor and stay in the race and throw those 16 electoral college votes to Kamala Harris and save us from Donald Trump. You have done your country a service by staying in the race.
To be fair, I mean, Juanita, I'm going to assume that you agree.
I'm not mad at this plea at all. Notice I didn't interrupt at any point.
A few gems from Donald Trump. In 2006, he said, if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. He also, in 2006, said, when you're famous, they let you grab women by the, you know the word there. In 2017, about Alicia Alicia Machado, who was Miss Universe. She was the winner, and she gained a massive amount of weight. It was a real problem. He called her a pig. He called her a fat pig.
Right.
In 2016, when accused of invading Hillary Clinton's space in the presidential debate, he said, believe me, the last space I would want to invade is her space. He said that women he's accused of raping are not his type, meaning that there is a type that he would rape. I could go on. So it is a little rich. I think this is a fair point, that you can't have the guy who is an adjudicated sexual assaulter say that guy likes porn, he got to go.
Every bit of this tracks, and I appreciate you for breaking it down and you showing additional evidence, because this is stuff that both of them have said for decades. Look at those timestamps on some of the posts from Mark Robinson, 2008 and earlier, and Donald Trump has had this long history of doing the same. So honestly, Republicans can't say anything, and sadly, they'd probably agree with a lot of what he did say. The Nazi sympathizer components, the Holocaust denier, the anti-LGBTQ things, at least what he says in public compared to how he behaves in private based on this reporting from CNN. It raises a lot of questions, but that LGBTQ piece is probably what Republicans in North Carolina are likely going to lean on when they attempt to push him out. But I agree with Eugene. Stay in this race.
Hashtag Madison
Stay
Cawthorn.
here.
Madison Cawthorn said he was down and he was being a part of sex cults or sex. They pushed Madison out.
The thing is this, right? It is crazy when you have one 69 guy trying to push another 69 guy who's pushing another 69 guy out the way. This is MAGA. This is where MAGA is in 2024. The same place it was in 2015. The same place where it started its birth in the Tea Party in 2010. And the thing is this: we got 47 days to fight against this and make sure that, hey, for once and for all, we could push it out of our country and out of our.
I don't think it's going anywhere though, because look at this split screen moment today. Republicans are embroiled in this latest scandal, which could sink a critical state in 2024. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris is with Oprah tonight, uniting her coalition.
Yes, she is.
That's the difference. That's going to be the split screen for the next 46 days.
I agree.